Hey, seventh grade. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Today is May 4th. It is Star Wars Day, so happy Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And today I'm excited to start a new topic. We're going to talk about percentages. And there are three types of questions that you'll see today in our guided practice and in our independent practice today. And they all have to do with what information you're given and what information you need to find. You're always going to be given two pieces of information, and you'll need to find the third piece, the last piece. So you might be asked to find the part given the percent and the whole, or you might be asked to find the whole given the percent and the part, or you might be asked to find the percent given the part and whole. Okay, so all the information is the same. It's just what pieces of information are you given, and then what are you asked to find, okay? So I'll show you some examples with those in our guided practice today, and then you'll do them for your independent practice as well. So I want to remind you of a strategy that we use really in a lot of different types of questions in seventh grade, and I think it's particularly good for percent style questions. This is not the only way to solve these problems, but it's the one I'll emphasize today because it's the one I know that the majority of my seventh grade students are the most successful at. And that's just because we've been practicing ratio tables since a very long time ago. We had a ton of practice with these. So when I'm using a ratio table to solve a problem, I set it up with the percent and the value. A couple of things that I want you to remember. The whole or the total is always 100%, okay? We also might think of it as the original amount, right? If I am wondering what percent of my students scored in the green, then my whole is how many students are in my class, right? And that represents 100%. And then I need to find the percent maybe of the students who scored in the green, right? So that whole or original amount or total represents 100%. That's one piece of information that's never going to be given in the problem. Maybe not never, but in most cases, no. But it is something that we need to know going into it, okay? So let's take a look at the first question. Actually, if you haven't already taken a moment to set up your notes, go ahead and do that. Here's what I put on my paper to save just a little bit of work is I didn't write what we were given, but I do know that today we're going to be working on percentages. I need to be able to find the part, the whole, and the percent. Remember, if I'm asked to find the percent, I'll be given these other two things. If I'm asked to find the whole, I'll be given the other two. If I'm asked to find the part, I'll be given the other two. Okay? Alrighty, guided practice number one. Here we are. What is 5% of 70? So I'm first thinking, what kind of question is this? So I'm thinking, what information do I have and what am I going to be asked to find, right? I have the percent, 5%, and I have 70. Is that the part or the whole? If you were thinking that's the whole, you are correct. Nice job. How can you tell? Yep, that word of tells me that 70 is the whole. So in my example about my class, if I want to know what percent of my students scored in the green, then the whole is all my students, right? Of 70 means my whole or my total is 70, okay? So I'm given the percent and I'm given the whole. Given the? Yes. So what I'm being asked to find in this question is the part given the percent and the whole, okay? In your guided practice today, when you see a question like this, where you're asked to find the part, you can come back and look at the example for question number one. It could be helpful to jot down next to number one, jot down find part. That way you can come back and find it pretty quickly, okay? I wanna go ahead and use my ratio table strategy. I'm just gonna copy and paste my table onto this slide. Go ahead and draw your ratio table on your paper and just be like a T-chart. Okay. All right, and when I'm setting up my table, I'm going to fill in the key information from the question. I'm just going to change the color so I can see what I've typed in together. Okay, so what is 5% of 70? I like to start with the 100% because I'm given the whole. I know that 100% is 70. So anything on one row of my ratio table should be equivalent. So 70, the value, is equivalent to or represents 100%, okay? And I want to know what is 5%. Where should I put the 5? Absolutely, I should put it in the percent column, okay? So in order to get my answer is going to be whatever comes here, right? And I've got to use my ratio table strategies to figure this out, all right? Do you know how to get, using multiplication or division, from 100 to 5? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you don't, what I would recommend you do is leave yourself a little space in the middle and try to come up with a number that's easy to get to 105. So thinking of a factor or multiple of 105. One that I can think of is 10. It's really easy for me to get from 100 to 10. Do you know how? Yep, I'm just going to divide by 10. Go ahead and make your work look like mine. And I like 10 because also then I can get to 5 really easily. How can I get from 10 to 5 using multiplication or division? Yep, divided by 2 or multiply by 1/2, right? All right, so if I do this, I have to do the same thing on the other side. That's how ratio tables work. Got to use that multiplicative reasoning. If I divide it by 10 here, I'm going to also divide by 10 on this side. What's 70 divided by 10? Yep, it's 7. And then I've got one more job. I've got to do my divided by 2. 7 divided by 2. Do you got it? Absolutely. 3.5 or 3 5/10. Okay. So here's where my answer is. The question was, what is 5% of 70? Does it make sense to say that 5% of 70 is 3.5? Yeah, 5% is a small amount. Remember that 100% is 70. So it would make sense that 3.5 would be 5%. I would go ahead and select A. In fact, I will go ahead and select A as my answer for question 1. Okay. Make sure that your paper looks like mine. If you need a moment, go ahead and pause the video now. All right, let's try another question. Here's question number 2. 15 is 25% of what number? I want you to think first about what kind of question is this? Are you being asked to find the part, the whole, or the percent? You're not being asked to find the percent. I'm given that the percent is right here, 25%. So are you being asked to find the part or the whole? If you said you're being asked to find the whole, you are correct. It says of what number. This phrase, of what number, tells me something important. It tells me that the whole is unknown. I don't know what number the whole is, and that's what I'm being asked to figure out. However, I do know that 15 is the part. Is the? Yes. Go ahead and draw in your ratio table. Take a minute right now and try to solve this question on your own. And your time starts now. You should have that ratio table set up. Think carefully about what percent belongs with the number 15. Last few seconds, check that your answer makes sense. All right. So this question, you were finding the whole given the percent and the part. Because I'm finding the whole, I don't know yet what 100% is. But if I put 100% in my table, then I'll be able to find the whole. So that's the strategy I was using. Okay. Take a look at my work. My answer was 60. If you got that answer too, nice work. Go ahead and put a big star next to number 2. Way to go. Here's what I was thinking. I know that 15 is 25%. So that's one row of my table because they represent each other. 15 is represented by 25%. I want to know the whole because it says of what number. So I put 100% in my table. I know that 25 times 4 is 100, so I need to use that same factor on the other side of my ratio table, and I got 60. Now I'm just checking, does my answer make sense? It says 15 is 25% of 60. 15 is 25% of 60. Yes, that makes sense. 60 is larger, and 15 is only 25%, so I would expect that my total is larger. So in this case, absolutely 60 makes sense. Cool, nice work, guys. We're gonna pause here and enter in our Google form. In your Google form, please enter the answer for guided practice question number 2 in the Google form below. All right, let's keep going. Take a look at question number 3. I want you to read and be able to tell me in about 15 seconds, what are you being asked to find, the part, whole, or percent? All right, let's see if you got it. In this question, you were being asked to find the percent, right? If the blank makes this really easy to see. You might also see this question with the words, what percent, instead of a blank and then a percent sign. So blank percent of 60 is 15. What's the whole? Yes, 60, because the word of tells me that the next number is typically my total. And then is 15 is my part, okay? Go ahead and set up your ratio table and solve this one on your own. And let's see if you can get it in 1 minute. Go. About halfway through our time. And this one, I think it's helpful to find that middle step in my table. All right, let's go ahead and set up our table and see if you got it. I don't know the percent of the part. I do know that 100% of my answer, of my value, is equivalent to 60. So 60 is my total, that represents 100%. Right? I do know that my part is 15. Which column should I put it in? Yes, I'm gonna put it in the value column. Okay. I skipped a space because it might be helpful to come up with a middle value here if you don't know how to get from 60 to 15 using multiplication or division. If you do know how to get from 60 to 15, awesome. You can skip the middle step, but I think the middle step might be helpful for some of us. I want to know what percent of 60 is 15, so my answer is going to come in this box here. Okay. Do you expect this answer to be greater than 100 or less than 100? Why? This should be less than 100 because the value is less than the value represented by 100%. So because my value decreases, my percent should decrease also. So we can go ahead and eliminate A for sure, okay? All right, let's go ahead and find that middle step. Can you think of a factor of 60 and 15? So a common factor? Yeah, I like 3. There's multiple that you could pick here, but I like 3 for this problem. So let me go ahead and draw in the relationships that I'm using. This is a great opportunity to jot another strategy on your paper. You already have one of your own. Always helpful to think about doing a problem in multiple ways, because some ways are more efficient than others, and getting practice with them before you do it on your own can be super helpful. All right, 100 divided by 20 is 5, 60 divided by 20 is 3. So I know the ratio 5, 3 is equivalent to the ratio 100, 60. This also means that 5% has a value of 3. I want to know what has the value of 15. Okay, so I can also tell, let me change colors here. I can also use this relationship. This is times 5. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Times 5. Oops. 25. Here's where my answer lies. I'm just going to check and make sure that it makes sense. Let's see. Blank percent of 60 is 15. 25% of 60 is 15. Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that makes sense. I would expect that to be a lot smaller than 60. In fact, 1/4 of 60. Let's go ahead and select B as our answer for question 3. Okay, take a moment to update your paper now if you need to. All right, let's go ahead and enter this answer in our Google form. Please select the answer B. Great. All right, team, last one, and this is my favorite one. You're gonna see a question like this on your independent practice today. I want you to read it in the next 15 seconds, be able to tell me what kind of question this is. Awesome. I hope you said, find the percent. This is also a word problem or a story problem, which makes this question, that's why it's my favorite. If Paul answers 6 out of 15 test questions correctly, what percent of his test questions did he answer correctly? And then a bonus, what percent of his test questions did he answer incorrectly? Okay, I added this question to better prepare you for your independent practice today. These answer choices are for the first question. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute to go ahead and try this one on your own. Time starts now. Because you're finding the percent on this question, it means you have the whole. So I might start in my ratio table with the whole and 100%. Check that your answer makes sense. All right, if you didn't get to both parts, that's okay. We will finish this up together. So if Paul answers 6 out of 15 test questions correctly, I can find the percent he got correct, and I can also find the percent he got incorrect. And I want to do both so you're really ready for your independent practice. Okay, here's what I was thinking. I know that 100% of the test questions is 15 because there are 15 total questions. That's my whole. That's my, yes. I want to know what percent 6 is. So the next number that I wrote actually was 6, and I didn't know how to get from 15 to 6. So I included this middle step here. I do know that 3 is a factor of 15 and 3 is a factor of 6. Because of that, I was able to use really easy multiplication and division to get to 6. If I just had a table that looked like this, 15 and 6, that's just a factor that I don't know off the top of my head. Okay, it's a decimal number. I could find it by using division, but if I'm trying to do this efficiently and in my head, I'm going to actually opt for some easier multiplication and division. For me, that's better. If you like this way better, please do that. So I'm going to follow the same steps on the left side. I divided by 5 first and then multiplied by 2 after. And I got 40. You got 40% of the questions correct. So the answer for question 4 is 40. But then I asked, can you find the percent that he got incorrect? If he got 6 correct, how many did he get incorrect? Yes, he got 9 incorrect. So you can also find the amount incorrect. I just added it into my table here. He missed 9 questions. What percent is that? I could have used from 6 to 9, that's times 1.5, but I think it's a little easier to do 3 times 3. So I actually started from up here and used that multiplication relationship. And I just did the same thing on the other side. And I got 60%. You might have thought about this differently. If he got 40% correct, I could find out how much he got incorrect by simply subtracting. 100% minus 40% equals 60%. So if this is the total amount he can get correct, and he could get correct or incorrect, and this is how much he got correct, then this must be how much he got incorrect, right? This is a really good way to check my answer. Awesome. Let's go ahead and enter our answer for question 4. Let's see, we got, for percent correct, we got 40% C. Okay. It is time for your question of the day. Question of the day today is, what strategy did we use to solve percent problems? What strategy did we use to solve percent problems? Yes, all the way at the beginning, we talked about the strategy we're using today is ratio tables because we're so good at them, honestly. So what I want you to do on your Google form today, I want you to be really careful. I want you to type in ratio table just like I have it here. Awesome. The reason I want you to be so careful, so check your spelling, check your capitalization. I want you to be really careful here because it's going to be graded automatically for you. And if you type it incorrectly, if you spell it wrong, or if you put a capital letter in a weird place, or extra spaces or extra words, the computer's going to mark it incorrect. Okay, so make sure you type it just like I have it here. All right, you have a couple of things to do, and I want to, wow, I really got to move my face so you can see this Yoda picture I got for you. I want to give you a couple of instructions. You have your independent practice to complete today, 5 questions. One of them has a trick, the last one. I want you to be really careful. It's just like question 4 on our guided practice today, where we had to think about correct versus incorrect. It's similar to that one, so just read it and set it up really carefully, okay? Your skill builder today is convert percents to decimals. And there's an opportunity to go to office hours today at 3:15 with Miss Russell. So please take advantage of that. It's linked, her link to her Zoom is included in my presentation for you. Big reminder or big new thing I want to tell you about. Once you submit your Google form, you're going to see something like this. It says, great work. Please submit your assignment in Google Classroom. And then there's this new button called View Score. If you click on that button called View Score, you're going to get to see right away if you got your video questions correct or not. Because you made it this far and you've been watching the video really carefully, here's what you should see. You should see 3 out of 10. That's not a great score. However, the only thing that's graded right now are the video questions, and there are only 3 of them, right? So right here I see 3 of 3 points. I got my first, my second, and my third video question correct. If you put weird capital letters, or you put a ratio table, or you put ratio tables, those would all be marked incorrect here. If that's the case, you can actually go click this edit your response button and just fix it. That way you can get it correct, okay? You'll also notice that in the assignment part, you'll see 0 out of 7 points. That's just because your assignment has not been graded yet. So it's okay for you to see 0 out of 7. Your score will be updated in Google Classroom by tomorrow. So check for your score in your Google Classroom tomorrow. Okay. If you have trouble with that or any questions, just let me know or go to office hours to get some help. And I think that's it for me. You guys have an awesome Monday. See you later.